very much. It's really super to be here and be in this great space. It's just great to visit with you, and thank you, the Marion Institute, for inviting me and for putting on such a great conference. I've chosen for the talk here this morning, it's going to go quick, so listen carefully. Heretics unite. You know, we don't use the word heretics. We have business books about called the lunatic fringe, and early adopters, and then, all the followers. But digging back into history, I like the word heretics because the counterpart to that is an orthodoxy. And I think sometimes that we don't appreciate that we live in a time of orthodoxy, just like our predecessors did. For example, remember at one time, you were considered a heretic if you said the earth is round and not flat. I mean, the orthodoxy of the day was, everybody knows, the earth is flat. You drive out to the edge, you fall off, and you see Atlas underneath, holding things up. The sun revolves around the earth. And if you said, no, the earth revolves around the sun, everybody'd say, what, are you nuts? You see it rise every day. The sun comes up. The sun revolves around the earth. It's obvious. During the Middle Ages, the bubonic plague, death and diseases were caused by spirits, and you can see the stone cuts of those European times where you had the spirit of measles and the spirit of whooping cough and the spirit of these things. There was an orthodoxy at one time that slavery is fine, slavery is okay. Orthodoxy that the way to cure diseases was to put leeches and slice you open to let your blood out, get all those those bad humors out of the body. Moving a little closer home, a time when feeding dead cows to cows is progress. This is what we do. The U.S. duh, F duh. Took farmers like me, to free steak dinners for 30 years, teaching us this new scientific method, the orthodoxy of the day, where we take dead cows and we feed them to cows. And people like me that didn't embrace that, were labeled Luddites and anti-science, barbaric, Neanderthals, and all this. And then, today, now there's this, eventually there became this worldwide, oops, maybe we shouldn't ought have done that, as people realized that the orthodoxy of the day was not right. And then, of course, today we have, of course, the genetically modified organism requirement to feed the world. The world's going to starve if we don't have GMOs. So the point that I'm making is that every society has its orthodoxy. So what I'd like to do very, very quickly is look at just a couple of the orthodoxies of our day, and then I want to invite all of us to join together to unite as heretics and wear the heretic label proudly. So here are a couple of orthodoxies, all right? Number one, nature is broken and we have to fix it. That's the orthodoxy of our conventional thinking. When our neighbors, good people, but we're on different planets as far as worldview is concerned. When an animal gets sick, they assume that animal, the default position of nature is sickness, and they've got to use vaccines and pharmaceuticals just to fix things, to keep things alive. That plants, their default position is that they're going to die and get fungus and mold, so we have to spray them with chemicals and things like that. If a plant dies and gets sick, it's apparently chemically disadvantaged. If a cow gets sick, she was obviously pharmaceutically disadvantaged. We just weren't using the right concoction. And I would suggest that the heretics, like us, say, no, nature is fundamentally well, and the patterns of nature work very well, thank you very much. And if something is sick or something is wrong, it's not nature that's out of whack, it's we who have done something to it that made it go out of whack. So heretics believe that we can actually create, without pharmaceuticals, without chemicals, without a bunch of outside things, that we can actually create a terrain of health that builds up an immunological hedge against, problems. Right now in the U.S., you might not know this, but since January 1 of 2013, just a year, almost 2 years ago, we have now been in the U.S. losing 1 in 4 piggies born in the pork industry to a new thing called epidemic porcine viral diarrhea, EPVD. I've already decided that if there's anything worse than diarrhea, it's got to be viral diarrhea. So epidemic porcine viral diarrhea, and of course, now the industry is just reeling, trying to figure out how, to find some solution, vaccines, drugs, whatever, and all the land-grant universities are charging through a lot of research money and dollars and things trying to figure out this. But search high and low, and you will not find one single researcher daring to ask the question, I wonder if we shouldn't put 5,000 pigs in a house. See, you can't even ask the question. See, that's the problem with orthodoxy. It's so ingrained in the culture that you dare not even ask the question. And so what we have now is that life is fundamentally mechanical, and the only question is, can we grow them faster, fatter, bigger, cheaper? We all know that doesn't work. I mean, the average NFL football player is dead at 57 because when your neck is bigger than your head, you're a freak and nature weeds you out. It's just. So we're looking at those patterns in nature and saying, how can we adopt those? How can we actually use those? And so our search is not for a new concoction, a new man-made lab concoction, but our search is to understand humbly and more fully how these nature templates and patterns work, and then caress them as a land masseuse, if you will, on this ecological womb that is our nest. The second orthodoxy of our day: efficiency requires monospeciation. I mean, if we're going to have efficiency, we can't have diversity on the farm. We can't have diversity in life. We've got to go to segregated, monospeciated systems like concentrated animal feeding operations, single species farms, single-use infrastructure, linear marketing channels. We can't have all the. We can't have multiple species on a place. I mean, we just can't do that. We've got to have single. The heretics, like us, we say diversity and multi-speciation is nature's template, and so we start talking about things like permaculture, stacking enterprise, and on our farm, we've got this cacophony of ducks and pigs and chickens and tomatoes and fruit trees and mulberries and pawpaws, and and they're all proximate to each other. The animals graze under the trees, and then the compost, and I mean, it's all one great big diversified bunch. And you know what? Suddenly, the pathogens are confused. And confused pathogens are a good thing. And it actually is far more productive. And even in our work, we're not doing the same thing all the time, so we don't get carpal tunnel syndrome, because one minute it's a whole different petting to pet a pig and then pet a chicken, and so you use different muscles, you see. Picking tomatoes is completely different than gathering eggs. One is down, and so you use different muscles. And so when we look at nature as pattern, we see this diversity, this multi-speciation. And that has led us to a fundamentally segregated view toward food, to where, The soil is supposed to be fertilized with material that comes from somewhere else, and it comes in, and then it grows corn and beans to feed something over here, and they're put in a segregated facility over here, and then they're processed over here, and then they're trucked over here to be eaten over here. And I mean, we don't even live proximate to our own human waste, our own poop. It has to go over there somewhere, and rather than being near. And so we've got this system, like the backyard chicken thing. I mean, home chickens. I mean, what more integrated approach to living and to food than to have a couple of chickens in your house? I mean, take a dog and a cat. I mean, a boa constrictor, gerbil. I mean, they just sit there, entitlement. Pet me, feed me. They don't do anything. They just sit there. But a chicken, first of all, think about if you have kids, if you want a role model for your kids, man, the chicken is the critter. Boy, because a chicken, they're the first animal up in the morning. I mean, they're up before the cows, they're up before the pigs. They're the first thing up in the morning, and then they take your kitchen scraps, they take your garbage and turn it into eggs for you to eat. I mean, they're the ultimate recycler, the ultimate turning trash into treasure. And then guess what? When it gets to be a little bit dusky dark, they're not looking around here trying to prowl around at night and become a police problem at night. They go to bed. They jump up on the perch and they don't carouse at night. I mean, what a better role model for kids. They get up early in the morning, they work hard all day, they turn trash into treasure, and then they go to bed at night, and then you don't have to worry about them. So that's the example of an integrated system. People say, we can't feed the world. We got too many people, blah, blah, blah. Listen, the United States has 36 million acres of lawn and 36 million acres housing and feeding recreational horses. And I haven't even gotten to golf courses yet. That's 72 million acres. That's enough to feed our entire country without a single farm or ranch. We can go to edible landscaping. It doesn't take any more time or money to grow a fruit or nut tree than it does an ornamental blossom. Now, I like pretties as much as anybody else. But if we have farms that are aesthetically and aromatically, sensually romantic, they can be tucked in any little nook and cranny in urban areas and wherever. And yes, chickens even in your house, honeybees on the roof, pot gardens on the patio. I mean, pot. Okay, quickly. You guys are using up my time here. All right. The third you get it though, all right? What we want a multi-speciated, fundamentally integrated, proximate food system. Number 3, the next orthodoxy of our day is home kitchens are unnecessary. Let others do the cooking. 49% of meals are prepared outside the home. We now have whole houses built without kitchens. They're called breakfast nooks because all you need is a microwave. And now with cornstarch plates, you don't even have to wash dishes. You just put it in the microwave, nuke it, and eat the food, eat the package, and you're all done. 70% of Americans at 4 p.m. have no clue what's for dinner. Convenience rules the day. There aren't any family meals. Nobody knows how to pass food anymore. Food ignorance is everywhere. I mean, it used to be that 30 years, a lot of people don't realize that 35, 40 years ago, you could not go to a supermarket and get a boneless, skinless breast. I mean, if you wanted a boneless, skinless breast, you had to go get a whole chicken, take a knife, and a cutting board, and cut it out. And then you had the leftover chicken for dumplings and stocks and casseroles and things like that. And so there's a lot of money to be made in domestic culinary ignorance. So it is absolutely heretical for people like us to suggest to our disconnected culture that home centricity is the foundation of integrity food. And so if we're going to begin to rediscover and become informed and reintegrate integrity food into our lives, it means we've got to rediscover domestic culinary arts. And we've got to bring the larder back to the home instead of driving down the road. Where's the food? Oh, the food is in a warehouse, 1,000 miles away, that's dependent on cheap energy and teamster, happiness and, merchant marine trade agreements and all that to get here. Instead, 100 years ago, the food here was all in the domestic larder, in the pantry. And I would suggest that there is a tremendous spiritual benefit to that too, because then when you lie down at night with your beloved, you're lying down proximate to a visceral representation of the earth's abundance. And in a time when many of us who are looking at things are quite concerned about running out of things and scarcity, and every environmental sciences class in the country focuses 90% of their attention on scarcity and running out, I think it's a spiritual balm and emotional healing to be able to viscerally participate, understand, package, know where your food comes from, and lie down with your beloved with it nearby so that you know you have 100 days of food in the larder ready to eat that you have participated in, not as a spectator, but you participated in the ultimate game and come alongside this nest that we live in as a participant. Number 4, the fourth orthodoxy of our day is that the United States has a divine dispensation that makes it immune from collapse. Along with this is that, unprecedented growth is always a good thing. Cancer is a growth. Growth is not inherently good. There are some things that shouldn't grow. But we have a gross domestic product economic system that rewards gross domestic product. When people are more sick and hospitals are used more, that's more GDP. Look at all the disease. Wow, great job opportunity. Everybody gets sick and we can have more people employed. How about more prisons? If you build a prison, that's gross domestic product. That's growth, Debt, divorce. How about riparian dead zones? It's amazing. There's no expense to dead zones. But boy, to fix them, that's GDP. Wow, let's have some more dead zones. Desertification, obesity, hospitals, laws. There was a Roman axiom that you could tell the health and strength of any culture by the number of laws that it had. And as cultures waned and became anemic and impoverished, they just started passing more and more laws. And I think that's where we are, because if you can't fix anything or do anything, at least pass a law, you can at least flex your muscle. We're going to pass a law about that. Need more of the law on that. Violence in schools, erosion of money, ignorance. There's a lot of things that shouldn't grow. And so heretics are the prophets who warn about going the way we're going. Heretics actually say we're going the wrong way. See, we're a nation now of just technicians. And the technicians, let's say there's, a plane goes down in a Brazilian jungle, right? And 11 survivors, 10 of them have machetes, they're the technicians. And so they're out here, hacking through the jungle, let's find civilization, let's get out here, And there's one prophet in the group, and the prophet says, well, I'll tell you what, I'll climb up a tree here and see if I can find out where the nearest village is. And so the hackers, the technicians here, they're down here hacking through the jungle. The prophet climbs up the tree, he shines up there, he looks at it, he says, hey, everybody, there's 2 miles away, there's a village over here. And they just all yell back at him and say, hey, don't bother us with trivialities, look at all the progress we're making. That's what happens when you have a nation of technicians and no prophets. And so it's the prophets that tell us where we're going. And I would suggest that some heretics that promote, do-it-yourself and self-reliance and gardenings and clotheslines, yes, clotheslines, cisterns from roof runoffs, living roofs. We believe that there's a day of reckoning when nature's balance sheet is going to ask for payment. And what we would like to see is that rectified now. The final orthodoxy, and I'm done, is in our day that rebels are great everywhere except in the U.S. You know, we love the Syrian rebels, we love the Arab Spring, we love the Egyptian rebels, we love the Libyan rebels. But in the U.S., if you're so rebellious that you want to sell raw milk, or you want to make compost-grown tomato paste in your kitchen and sell it to your neighbor, or you want to not vaccinate your children, or have your animals in a pasture instead of a confinement facility, or actually let the deer and the rabbits run through your garden and you have manure next to your cabbages that you sell. No, that is a terrorist and a bioterrorist. And heretics believe that ultimately how a nation treats its innovative lunatic fringe that dares to question the orthodoxy of the day says everything about whether the nation is a tyranny or a liberty society. That is absolutely why I invite all of you here today. These are just a few. There's a lot more orthodoxies we could play with. But I would invite all of you today to actually enjoy. Don't sit here and feel depressed and frustrated about, oh, all these. No. I'm a heretic. Hey, let's be rebels and heretics. Let's unite around questioning the orthodoxy of the day, because it's in the questioning of the orthodoxy of the day that we will ultimately move our culture to a place of truth and honesty. Thank you so much. Blessings on all of you. Thank you. Thank you.